All right.
Okay. So a little word on Charlie. Charlie is a well-known AR, VR consultant, speaker, and Forbes columnist. I know many of us track what he's saying in the media. It's kind of funny. I know Charlie's a huge AR guy, but lately I've been seeing you a lot on a lot of different VR platforms giving talks and whatnot. One of the cool things that a lot of people might not know about Charlie is he was formerly with Disney, AOL, and AG Interactive, and famously came up with the idea for The Lion King in the 90s. Fink was EVP and COO of VR pioneer Virtual World Entertainment and is the author of an incredible book that I will show a clip of after Charlie's done. It's an AR pop-up book where all the characters come to life in AR right in front of you. Absolutely amazing. He's a professional speaker whose numerous appearances include CES, South by Southwest, and AWE. In addition to Forbes, Charlie is the contributing editor of Virtual Reality Pop. Take it away, Charlie.
Hey, thank you, Chris. And, hi, everybody. Yeah, I appreciate the virtual claps. This is a very intimate group. It seems like, I can't hear everybody, but I realize the lag. Bob's voice broke up from time to time. I don't know if anybody else experienced that.
A little bit. You're sounding really good, though, Charlie. You haven't broken up yet.
Okay, cool. So I've been talking a lot about AR lately. So I'll share some of my thoughts about why it's so hot and why VR is not. And much of that thinking comes from the book. So we were talking about bios. That was a great introduction, Chris. So I'm not sure how much of my bio I need to repeat here. Let's see, I'm hitting next. It is not advancing. Next slide. Yes.
Next slide.
Here we go. Next slide. So purposes of this conversation, I would say this is the fourth act of career. I started out as a movie executive, producer. I moved into new virtual world for Disney in the mid-90s. I went to AOL and online services, which kind of completed my move into tech. And then I became a theatrical producer when I became sick of the corporate world. And then when I became sick of the corporate world of theater producing, I wanted to go back, but it was too late. I wasn't relevant anymore. So I kind of had to start over, and I ended up starting over, where I had left off 20 years before virtual reality, which is undergoing a tremendous renaissance. With regard to location-based virtual reality, which was the company that I was involved with in the 90s. But in the 90s, before the internet, we thought virtual reality was the purpose of computing, future of computing. And of course, it turned out not to be, but here we are again. And it certainly is extraordinary that we can all be present here together. So my 35-year career in tech and entertainment has led me to a few strong beliefs, and these form the filter that I use with every story that I write, with the book that I wrote, and with the talks that I give. So technology succeeds when it takes what we're already doing and makes it better, cheaper, and faster. And there's no better example than what has happened to retail, the growth of the internet. People are the killer app. Why do I look at my phone 200 times a day? It's because it connects me to people, and not just my family, but all of you. I'm much more electronically connected than I am connected in person. And then finally, with regard to technology and most things, we overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term. So a few words about AR and VR and how different they are. Once upon a time, two academics named Paul Milgram and Kishino, I forget his first name, but it was 1994, and they were trying to figure out the relationship of AR and VR. And they imagined that the relationship had to do with the degree of immersion, right? So over here, virtual reality, over here we have fully included digital reality, and everything in the middle is augmented or mixed reality. Microsoft came along 20 years later and they said, this is a good chart. We like this graph. So, and how convenient that on one side of the graph sits our HoloLens, which is not terribly immersive, and on the other end, we're fully included Windows 10 MR that only does VR. If you're not confused, raise your hand. So, Microsoft has gone a long way to confuse the issue, because I don't think AR and VR belong on a spectrum at all. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think these are flawed ideas from the 90s that Microsoft foolishly brought forward to the present, but it may accurately describe their own view of their products, but it does not accurately describe the relationship of AR and VR. And again, Milgram and Kishino were working, 24 years ago. So, I think they were working with technology as they saw it at the time. But now that it's clear what augmented reality is for and virtual reality is for in their various use cases, I think it's easy to define the differences. And so I'm going to define the differences from the future. Okay, when this technology matures. Because what are we really doing with the technology? Well, with virtual reality, we want to enter, be present in another place, which has always been man's goal. It's a deep spiritual need that started with campfire stories and cave paintings and continued with the shadow play and Plato's cave, in theater, anything that requires us to suspend our disbelief, right? The Baroque churches of the Middle Ages, right? Life was dangerous and dirty and churches were safe and clean. There we go. Sorry, I lost my place. All the video games. This is the lineage of virtual reality. Man's quest for immersion. Now let's talk man's quest for augmentation, because when we talk about augmented reality, I think we always think we're talking about technology, but we're not. We're talking about the augmentation of man. We're talking about tools that make us better, faster, smarter, better workers, better learners. Smartphone augments me, right? I forget a movie actor again. I'm always smarter. My smartphone is with me. So I say that AR is a tool. Also, there's this assumption that there is some terminal place in AR where we can have magic glasses, but I don't think that. I think that that's a waypoint on the way to invisible contextual, invisible computing. And we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. But let's see, things I know are true. Okay, so why is AR so hot right now? Well, because, as I said a few minutes ago, it takes the cell phone, the smartphone that we already have in our pocket, that we already check 200 times a day, and it makes it much better.
Yeah.
So, there are 2 billion AR-enabled smartphones in the pockets of consumers. So people are very, very excited about that. But it's not like tomorrow you make an AR app. What happens is that AR gets integrated into the apps we use every day. So it's not like, hey, I have this great new AR app. Oh, it's Google Maps just got much better. The consumer doesn't care about how it got better. They only care that it is better. So these words, augmented and mixed in virtual reality, I actually wrote about this recently. I think these are words for us to describe it now, but the use cases for consumers, they become part of the brands that they augment, right? We're not going to say augmented reality glasses. We're going to say eyeglasses or Apple glasses or whatever they and these companies that popularize technologies at scale decide to call it. But I assure you, it's not going to be augmented anything. I wanted to brag about my book for a second because we're talking about augmented reality, and it is an augmented reality book, which is the coolest thing about it, although the words are pretty great too. Augmented reality allows the book to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. And it's a kind of augmented reality, right? There are many different kinds of augmented reality. When I talk about augmented reality on smartphones and Google Maps, I'm talking about consumers, but it's even at a more exciting point with enterprise, because enterprise, the hierarchy is military, enterprise, and consumers. So right now it's a very exciting moment with augmented reality and enterprise. And although a lot of that is happening on tablets and uses the kind of AR that I use in the book, which is called marker-based AR, a lot of it is quite sophisticated and uses the HoloLens and projects, wiring maps onto the fuselage of airplanes. Chris, you'll have to keep me on track because I have no sense of time.
You're doing fantastic, Charlie. I'll let you know.
But I get confused. So I'm going to show you how the AR in the book works. So you have the cover of the book, and you download the free Fink Metaverse app, and you hold it over the cover, and the cover is a marker. And let's see if we can get this to work. Chris, help. How do I get
so I can go ahead, Charlie. I can show the video at the end of your
video, man.
talk.
It's so cool.
You want me to just do it right now? Okay.
Yeah, do it right now.
All right.
So imagine that you're seeing, right? I'm seeing all of you back there, and the book in front, and out pops this animation.
Here we go.
Hello, I'm Charlie Fink. I'm a futurist and the author of this book, which you can judge from its cover. It's full of AR fun like this. So keep your phone handy as you check out what's inside and join me on this journey. Let's dive in. Let's have some fun.
Super cool, Charlie.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So let's see what's next here. How do I get out of here?
It's okay, Charlie. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up.
You have
for
to give it back to me, right? So
you just tell me when to switch slides, and we'll keep going from there.
Yeah, switch back to slides is fine.
Here we go.
Sorry, I did that out of order, so it made life a little more complicated.
Yeah, it's all good.
So can you go back one slide?
You bet.
Okay, yeah, so we need to advance to the next one. Do you want to give my media back to me, or are you going to do the slides for me from here on out?
I'll just go ahead and do it for you from here, Charlie. Just let me know when you want to change.
Fine. So let's go to the next slide. So as a result of augmented reality, a lot is using marker-based augmented reality, but there's another kind of augmented reality that's getting a lot of attention right now, and this has to do with something called the AR cloud. So that we can geolocate objects in space that can be seen by all of us. They're 3D objects, or they can be text, from every angle using every device. And the object is someplace called the AR cloud. And every app of any scale will have an AR cloud that it uses for different purposes. And as a result, every one of us will have in our hands the ability to place objects in the real world, just like the guys who made Pokemon Go. Those tools will be in our hands so that we can make posts outside of our news feeds, but rather in places, right? So you're in a restaurant and you take a picture of yourself and you put it there for your friends to find. Or you put a note on the outside that says, "Don't eat at Joe's." Every building, every car, every toy, every person is going to be painted with that. And in order to see that data with our interface, with our camera, or with our eyeglasses or Apple glasses, there need to be something I call the Universal Visual Browser. And by that, I simply mean a universal interface for all apps that are using AR in the AR cloud. And it goes something like this. Okay, first of all, I don't want a lot of crap like the movie Anon, floating in my field of view for no reason. I'm not going to read it. It's a bunch of text, and it doesn't make anything I'm doing. So it's not going to look like that. Instead, it's going to show me where there is content. And then I will choose to click on it. So the Universal Visual Browser will be essentially Google for the and objects probably will have a glow or a mark, or there'll be a dot somewhere to tell you that it's a blue dot somebody posted from my Facebook feed. But for this to work, we'll need standards. And certainly privacy is a huge, huge issue, especially when you bring facial recognition into it. Next slide, please. Chris, next slide.
It is. Flavors of AR.
Oh, it's not there. Okay, so as I was saying, there are many, many flavors of AR. I was talking about marker-based. I was talking about geolocation. There's head-mounted, different kinds of head-mounted displays, monocular displays, binocular displays, waveform, which is used by not Magic Leap, but HoloLens, and Magic Leap does something called light field. So these are all different methods for bringing into your field of view. But in the case of a monocular micro display, it's very limited data, right? It's wiring instructions there for somebody who is doing wiring in a factory. It keeps them their hands free, and they don't have to keep back and forth between a schematic or a PC. Next slide, please. So right now, mobile is as hot as it could possibly be. And the app development world is obsessed with how AR is going to be integrated. And this is why there's so much noise around it. I mean, there is a cacophony around it. So as always, everybody is overestimating the present and underestimating the long-term power of this technology. Next slide, please.
Got it. Magic Leap.
Oh, okay, Magic Leap, yes. I do want to talk about Magic Leap for a minute. This is the highly secretive company in Florida that's got everybody on the edge of their seats promising to say contextually aware headset by the end of the year. I wouldn't get too excited. They have a habit of making big announcements and not exactly delivering what they might deliver. There might be 15,000 of them. They also said it was going to cost $1,000, which is impossible. But next slide, please. Magic Leap has done us a this industry because they have popularized this idea of a wearable computer, contextually aware, and gives us on-demand information that is relevant to us when and where we need it. It's able to place virtual objects in the real world, and the objects have persistence, right? You put a virtual post-it on your computer, you come back the next day, and the post-it is still there. They've introduced different ideas of interfaces, and in particular voice as the interface, right? Sound is something we don't talk about enough in augmented reality. And there are many use cases where you'd rather have Alexa whisper in your ear than see a bunch of writing in your field of view. Because I don't know if anybody has tried that, but it's very difficult to read while you're looking at somebody. And it is certainly something that will be a thing where people will be able to tell if you're reading while you're talking to them. The other thing that's worth mentioning is that this is a device that has hand tracking, right? So no controllers are necessary. It just your hands and gestures are picked up by outward facing cameras. And again, all these ideas have been socialized throughout the industry. And by the way, the last thing I would say is Magic Leap has raised $2.5 billion, which is a staggering amount of money, but not by the standards of mega startups today. For example, Uber's raised $19 billion. Google and Facebook raised over $10 billion for their respective public offerings. So let's go to the next slide. That's computer vision, by the way, which is just wickedly cool, and of course is at the heart of this whole idea of a wearable.
Oh, Charlie,
computer.
we lost you. You might have actually muted yourself. Upper right-hand side of your pad there.
Nope.
See if that
It says mic
is
on.
off.
It says mic on.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to unmute Steve here. Steve, where are you? Hang on. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Oh, he's back.
Oh, I'm back?
I can hear you totally fine.
Okay, great. So today, I was going to say this about Magic Leap before I jumped into this. For $2.5 billion,
Charlie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Great. You're back.
Magic Leap for $2.5 billion built its own optical system. They built a custom chip in their offices in Florida. They built their own operating system, and they're building their own software ecosystem. So, think about what Apple, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to build an operating system like Apple and Google, a third mobile platform, right? I mean, that is the world's biggest and strongest duopoly, yet with a fraction of the money, Magic Leap is taking them on. I have no idea if this is going to work, but it's just crazy if you take a step back and you think about it, and you think about the companies and the people who have put money into this thing, which include, Google and Disney and Alibaba, biggest companies, media companies and technology companies in the world. Next slide, please. So mobile AR is here today, and it's making what we're already doing better. And as a result, everybody is talking about it and is very excited. And by the way, it's exploding in enterprise. Anybody who makes anything can use augmented reality to make it much less expensively. So people are really paying attention because the ROI is there and it's easily apprehensible. So one thing I was going to talk about, do I have time left? So one thing I was going to talk about was, and I don't have the slides in this presentation, I apologize, was what's happening with VR, right? I mean, look at this
We've
scene.
got a couple minutes.
Okay. Look at this scene that we are all so present together. I'm giving a speech. I'm standing, in the middle of my office. I'm completely alone speaking to the air. Yet we are all present here communicating as if we were virtually together. The power of this medium cannot be denied. Yet it has not captured the imagination of the public. So what's going on? Why is that happening, right? And by the way, there are some terrific standalone devices. People are highly satisfied with the Oculus Go, despite its low relative to the PC-based virtual reality. And of course, people love the Vive, yet the public has not buying in at any price, right? They think they're going to sell 1.8 million Oculus Go's, which is not very much in consumer electronic. Nintendo, whatever that thing was called, that they just consider the case of Switch. I think it's called, maybe they sold 12 million of them in 3 weeks last December. So compare that to 1.8 million Oculus Go's. I mean, the truth is, worldwide at any given moment, there are probably 50,000 people in VR. So we really are at the very, very beginning. But what's happening is it's like the pattern of the personal computer, right? People used it at home. They used it at work. They used it everywhere but at home because they couldn't understand why they would need it at home. It sort of slowly started with email, but the inflection point for the personal computer came when it met online services. And what a personal computer could do for you at home became readily apparent to masses of people. And when they finally got it, the US went in 6 years from 13% of homes with a personal computer to 50%. And that is a lot of personal computers. So I would say VR and AR in many ways are following the development pattern of the personal computer, which, took 20 years before it met or 15 years before it met online services. And I would say not only are we following that pattern, but we're pretty much on schedule. We're like the bulletin board people in 1992, right? Before there was Mosaic and Netscape. It's a moment in time. Of course, I can't tell how old the people are here because of their avatars, but it's a moment in time that I remember very well. And, we were Tinkerbell is here. That means I must be out of time. So I will yield to Tinkerbell. And do we have time for a couple questions? Or because I could go on all day. I mean, I'll be honest. I love this.
Yeah, I'm going to. I just unmuted everybody. Please give Charlie a round of applause. That was an amazing talk, Charlie. Thank you.
Hey, please buy my book.
Great.
And if
Thank
you've
you
got
very
it-
much. You're awesome.
Thank you.
The book is
I can
terrific.
thoroughly recommend the book. It was brilliant.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. That's what happens when we unmute, Charlie. It gets a little crazy. But thank you so much. We feel very
My
honored
pleasure.
that you were here on the
My
Engage
pleasure.
platform. And
Yes.
wow,
And by
what
the
a
way, this is a
marvelous
terrific
wealth.
platform. Really excited about where it could go.
Thank you, Charlie. Awesome. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for
Okay, no
questions.
problem.
They're going to
If
be
you guys
starting
are
up the next
interested
room.
in chatting more, hit me up on social media at Charlie Fink.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
All right, guys. I'm out.
Thanks, guys. And
Thanks,
we'll see
Charlie.
you in the next final event coming up now.